Welcome to Therabytes, where we bring you bite-sized episodes, each one a piece of the puzzle that helps to explain the therapy world, the research behind it all, and how it relates to families. Hello, my name is Dr. Dana Poole. I'm a physiotherapist and the clinical lead at the Healthy Strides Foundation. It is my privilege to be hosting this podcast, one that is directed for parents of children with neurodisabilities. We hope to be able to answer some of your questions through this format. But to navigate our way through these big questions, we have the one and only, the lovely Naresha co-hosting this podcast. Welcome, Naresha.
Good morning, good morning. How's everybody?
Morning. Oh, look, well, hopefully they're answering and saying, we're doing really well. It was a hard night's sleep. Didn't sleep very much. I hope it's
they
good.
Had a great
I hope so too. Hopefully it's been a good morning for everyone, or whatever time of the day you're listening to us, actually. Yeah.
That's true.
Hopefully it's not too late at night trying to get to sleep or something. But
we sound too chirpy for listening at night.
Really chirpy. Oh yeah, I definitely wind down much earlier these days. I reckon I start getting ready for bed around 8:30.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Wow. I wish I could go down that early.
Oh, look, I really enjoy my sleep at the moment.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, it's good. But look,
I used to feel like that. Now I don't. I'm an early riser now.
Yeah, early riser.
I go to sleep at 8 and then I end up waking up at 10.
Oh, no.
And then at 12. And then at 2. And then it's like, bugger it. I'm just going to wake up and do stuff.
Well, at least you can be productive at that time and maybe come up with more questions to ask me.
Maybe.
I think you do come up with stuff here.
Yes. What do you got today?
All right. Well, today, did you know that this good old thing that we call FOMO, fear of missing out, is actually a good thing?
No, really?
Now, so FOMO, I remember when I first heard this term, I feel like it was way later than the current generation. I was like, what is FOMO? So fear of missing out, just in case, it's very real. We feel it when we go away and then all our friends are having a great time without us. And we're like, no, I don't want to miss out. But there's some new research that was published in Telematics and Informatics that FOMO can be a good thing against the fight in misinformation. Now, misinformation is something that's on the rise lately because of social media. We blame a lot on things on social media. But where information is put out that guides us down the wrong path when it comes to actual fact and information.
Right.
And the remedy for a lot of that is for us to be in tune with that and block these websites or block the accounts, unfollow them so you don't keep following it. Yeah. But they have found in research that if you have a high level of FOMO where you always feel like you might miss out, you are more likely to block sources of misinformation.
Well,
you're more, I don't know, I guess you're more in tune for all of that, which I thought was really interesting. So FOMO is not necessarily a bad thing because you always want to be part of it all. It's actually a really good thing. So is that interesting?
To be on top of it, yeah,
be
I
on
guess
top of it. Because I know I do that. If I see stuff I really don't like, I block them or I don't want to see them. And I'm like, does that mean that I do have FOMO? When I think about my life, yeah, I do have FOMO. I don't want to miss out.
I only read up on information that really relates to me, my life kind of thing. If it's not something that's not, because I obviously don't want to overstress, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe you already are inherently doing it anyway. You're
probably.
Like, nope. No misinformation for me.
I'm already vetting it automatically, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. So, many people have heard I do follow a lot of Panda Instagram pages. And so
food, a
lot of food places.
Yeah.
So I'm not as susceptible to it because of the kind of accounts that I follow.
Cool.
So there you go, a bit of information about FOMO and misinformation. But let's not go into misinformation. Let's provide information. That's what this is all about, right?
Yes. And today I have a question regarding introduction to walking.
Oh, I love this topic.
Early do we introduce our children to walking? Especially ones obviously in the cerebral palsy space.
So good.
And has it changed through time?
So totally has. The minute you ask that question, my brain goes into a frenzy. I can feel my heart palpitations. I go high because I get really excited about this topic. Very passionate. So I'm going to have to control myself, not talk too loudly or too fast because I love this. So what was your question again? No, got it. So see?
What was that, FOMO?
Okay, so how early do we introduce walking? The answer to that is on time. So the latest models, the latest thinking around this is really exciting because we are recognizing that mobility is a human right.
Okay.
And so Andrina Sabe from the US of A, as well as Heather Feldner and her research team, published just about 18 months ago this paper called On Time Mobility.
Okay.
On time as in we should be introducing walking at the same time that often neurotypical children are.
Right.
And the reason for that is because we recognize that mobility or walking isn't just about the mere act of taking steps and walking. We know it's linked to developmental phases in the brain about social, emotional, and cognitive development.
Okay.
So the act of being upright and having the ability to explore and move is really integral to their overall development.
Okay.
And when we talk about what's really sort of, I guess it's fashionable at the moment, it's the first 1,000 days. I don't know if you've all been hearing lately, there's real focus on the first 1,000 days and the absolute importance of it. Yeah. And it relates to all children, whether they have cerebral palsy or a other kind of condition that's a rare disease, for example, that delays their milestones, you know, that they don't get on their feet early. So the idea is to get them on their feet on time. And if we know they have a diagnosis that prevents them from being on their feet, this is where we use equipment.
Right.
So using walking frames, using things that, or powered mobility, you know, like little whizzy bugs that they can sit on it and move around, because it's the act of mobility that is so important.
Okay.
And it's so important. So your other question was, has it changed over time?
Yeah.
Yes, 100% it absolutely has.
Okay.
I would say in the time I've been a physio, so it's been 20 years. In the early days.
What's 20 years? Seriously.
Oh my God. It's over half my life. No, less than half my life, not that old. So it is in the early days, it was keep the kids on the floor for as long as you can.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how we were trained, especially if they've got hemiplegia. The whole idea was to keep them on the floor as much as you can so you can give them as much symmetry. They can work on all their floor mobility things first. But the problem with that thinking is that we know our children aren't going to attain a lot of those skills on the floor at the same time. So if we're waiting for them to roll, then sit, then crawl, sometimes our children aren't ever going to crawl because of their mobility restrictions of dystonia or spasticity. These kids then don't even get onto their feet till they're 5 or 6 or 7. Yeah. That's way too late from not only a mobility perspective and setting them up to win, from a strengthening perspective. We spoke about that last week. Yeah. Now what we're doing is we're delaying, like we've set them back on a path of delay from a cognitive emotional development side of things as well. So it's all really linked. It has changed. The shift has really happened, and I think we all know it. We have to do it now. It's just a matter of getting that word out there and encouraging everyone to follow that, follow that pathway now.
Wow, that's really interesting, because I remember when we went through physio the first year of my boy's life. And I noticed the physio was trying to get him, like, do the rolling, do the propping up, just the sitting, like that motion of going from rolling to propping up.
Yes.
But never did she actually like stand him up or anything. So I guess I'm assuming that when you say get them up, obviously hold them up, get them in that standing position so they realise the height.
Yes, that's
and
right.
obviously the surroundings at that height looking at. So that'll encourage them, obviously their senses.
Yes.
That they want to be up.
Yes.
And then the next steps would be to take the steps, right?
Yes, that's
even
right.
if there is that support.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously hand sport before we even go to the equipment side of things as yet, right?
We'll be both nowadays, because there's more equipment around now.
I know. That's the fantastic thing.
What age was your boy when you first got him up?
Oh, I'd say past the 12 months age. I can't even remember, to be honest.
And I would say even back then, 12 months would have been like, whoa, that's early.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're not talking about just walking, right? So kids don't just magically start walking.
Correct.
Regardless of who they are, there might be these, you know, boy geniuses. Yeah. But we know that, you know, at 7 months, they're starting to pull to stand. They'll want to be on their feet. You know, you'll see babies who want to start bouncing, they're standing, but they're holding on. They might not be able to get back down again. They're the ones who stand up on the crib and then they cry because they don't know how to get down. But they're on their feet, and that bouncing that they're doing is constantly growing their muscles.
Okay.
And that's
strengthening
their muscles. They're doing it really early in an upright position. Always has to be task specific. So they're already doing that. And then that sets the foundations for them to start taking their steps. Now, that means for our kids, if they're medically stable, 7 or 8 months, you can put them in a standing frame. They can start that. Or they can go into a walking frame where some of their body weight is still being taken up. They're not doing it all by themselves. They're safe. And they can start exploring. They can look at their feet. What are these feet for?
I don't know about that. I had him in like a walker thing with wheels, but obviously not with wheels because we were told that that's a little bit dangerous because he might go off balance. So we had him on like a jumperoo thing. And he was on that. So that was a nice step to get him up.
Yeah.
But then we noticed obviously his feet was like wanting to jump, right? Or, how you like tiptoe up,
your
kind
toes
of down.
come up and down. Yeah, perfect.
And I thought, so we were in the right equipment then.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, you want to come up. And I think that's why there's always a lot of hesitation. And I guess sometimes we don't know which path it takes. We always hear about these things like, don't put them into baby walkers. I do agree. Like baby walkers are perfectly fine because they're built for that age. And often when you think about when people put their babies into a baby walker, they're like 6 months almost or 7 months. They're very light. Yeah. So the danger though of putting a child that has cerebral palsy or any kind of other rare condition where they can't stay on their feet, they're usually a lot older. They're like 12 months.
Right, okay.
You put them into one that's for 6 months. The proportions aren't designed for that and they're very tippy. Yep. And that's why you do go for something more customed for this area because they're heavier, they're stronger bases. They're not going to tip and fall. And that safety is really important. So that's why we say no baby walkers, but that doesn't mean no walkers. It just means
that's right. We just got to
find differently.
Find the right specialised one, I guess. So being developmentally and physically challenged, there is now talk of getting children up at the usual expected milestone, which is great. Can you explain the benefits?
Yeah. Look, I think the first thing that we always see as a physio, I'm always going to go, yes, they're on their feet, they're weight bearing, and that's so important for hips. We spoke a bit a few weeks ago about hip surveillance. Yeah. So, and we know that it's so linked to active muscles around the hips, and you don't really replicate that in any other way in terms of the pull onto the bones unless they're upright. And the motion comes from the hips. That's where you take your steps. When you think about people who don't use walkers, and the parents might be helping them step, or the therapist, like really traditionally would put their hands in their ankles and they'll help them to take steps. That's not active in any way. Right. And you're also altering how the muscle would work because that means that if you put someone in their ankle and you're taking them a step forward, their hip joint and their muscles are reacting in a completely different way to when they decide they want to take a step.
So it's not fluid.
It's not fluid and it's not how we want the muscle to work because we want the muscle to pull on the bone of the femur, the long bone in the thigh, in the right way. And that's how the hips help to develop. So it has to be self-initiated. That's why, it might look like they are taking steps because you're kind of helping them, but it's not really doing what we want them to do. So we rather just, small incremental improvements where they are taking some steps themselves. And that's great for hips. So that's one really important thing. Strengthening is really obvious as well. The more time they're upright and active, they're getting physical activity time. And that's good for their cardiovascular system.
Right. Problem solving?
Problem solving, 100%, right? Yeah, because they need to see the world upright. They need to get around. Oh, there's a wall. Oh, there's a door.
Right. Okay,
how do I turn? And when they learn how to turn and make those movements, even if it's in a walker, that's great for the hip muscles, again, for hip health, but it helps them to kind of work out the world around them because so much of our children have stuff done to them. People come to them. People change them. Oh, let me make this place a bit wider for you. Right. They've never really had to really problem solve that. And when they're upright, they see the world differently. So it's so good for problem solving, their cognition, their visual spatial skills, like how they see the depth perception. We've all seen people who drive their cars who are good at parking, those who are not. And that's a visual spatial skills, right? So we want our kids to be able to use their device as well. If they end up using a power wheelchair, we want them to drive them well.
That's true.
And all that develops. Our eye skills develop over time and you have to give them those opportunities early. That's how it works.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
My next question was going to be whether there was any disadvantages or setbacks, but I don't think with everything that we've just talked about benefits, it's kind of like benefits outweigh.
Yeah, they absolutely
Right.
do. Yeah, and this is where we talk a lot about function over form. A lot of the times we aim for perfection, and it's so unfair to ask that of our kids who've got dystonia and spasticity and hypertonia. They're not going to do things the same way every other child is going to do it because their muscles just don't allow them to.
Yeah.
And if we make them try to do it this exact perfection way, it's not fair. We don't expect that of ourselves.
That's right.
But then they never get to actually enjoy the function of what it is they're doing. So function over form, I'd rather them do it than not to do it at all. I'd rather them do it not exactly perfectly, do it their own way. Yeah.
All right.
Because then we're saying to them, we accept who you are.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And we love you for who you are and how your body works. And that comes from our messaging just as much.
Definitely.
And I think that's important. That's a whole new topic on its own, really. But the bottom line is get them up.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. Yep.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Lovely topic. I could talk about that for days, quite literally days. So hopefully that's useful for many of you guys as well. And we'll talk to you all again really soon. See you later. Bye.